Till that at 15, Kara Robinson was kidnapped and assaulted by a serial killer for 18 hours. She managed to escape after manipulating him to feel at ease. She later helped police to capture him because she had memorized details of her surroundings. She was later in a criminal justice lecture where the speaker brought up her case not knowing she was in attendance. "Picking me was the biggest mistake he ever made. Whoa, that's badass. Reading his doctor's names off the fridge was really bright. That's a badass 15-year-old right there. She escaped a harrowing situation and came after his ass. That takes courage, a cool head and cunning. I hope she's doing a lot better now." Till there's a legally blind man who had his eye lenses removed, and since then he is able to see celestial objects normally invisible to the naked eye. His name is Tim Doucette and he has his own observatory in Nova Scotia. "I am also a phakic. The lens of my left eye was removed when I was an infant, my right eye is a prosthetic. I can't see well enough to read street signs, but I can see lightning before anyone else does." His name is Richard B. Riddick. Till F1 driver Kimi Räikkönen nearly bankrupted the Lotus team by being too good. His contract said that he would be awarded €50,000 for every championship point scored. Lotus thought their car would be so uncompetitive that year that it would not be a problem. Kimi went on to score 207 points. It was even more severe. He scored 390 points in 2 seasons, so Lotus owed him €19.5 million. In Räikkönen's biography it states that he never received all the money because the team couldn't pay him. He eventually dropped charges as he didn't want the team to go bankrupt, but he left Lotus and signed for Ferrari in 2014. He did forfeit most of it to make sure other people were not laid off. It would be funny if he forgot about that clause in his contract and at the end of the season was told he made $10,350,000 and that he may be taking down Lotus Racing in the process. Till in 2001, a Yakuza mob boss named Tadamasa Goto gave a $100,000 donation to UCLA. In exchange, they gave him a liver transplant, allowing him to jump the queue. That same year, 186 people in the Los Angeles area died while waiting for a liver transplant. The FBI was also involved. Till the op watched Tokyo Vice on HBO. Steve Jobs did the same thing despite not meeting the transplant criteria. Though, his donation was in the tens, edited from hundreds, apologies, of millions range. He also bought a house for the surgeon. Did they give him 186 livers? Because if not, 185 of those people were still gonna die waiting for one. HBO has a show called Tokyo Vice that is centered around this. Despite the spoiler, it's worth watching. In Japan, liver surgeon. Number 1 index pointing up, steady hand raising hands. One day Yakuza boss need new liver. I do operation. But. Mistake. Yakuza boss die. Yakuza very mad. I hide fishing boat. Come to America. No English, no food, no money. Daryl give me job. Now I have house, American car, and new woman. Daryl save life. My big secret, I kill Yakuza boss on purpose. I good surgeon. The best. Thumbs up light skin tone, thumbs up light skin tone. Till that in 1983, scientists created a machine that temporarily allowed people to see new colors outside of the regular color space. Imagine a color you can't even imagine. Now do that 9 more times. So, what happened to this machine and why don't more people develop machines like this? Seeing unknown colors sounds cool as shit. Some observers indicated that although they were aware that what they were viewing was a color, that is, the field was not achromatic, they were unable to name or describe the color. One of these observers was an artist with large color vocabulary. Other observers of the novel hues described the first stimulus as a reddish green. That's gotta be a very fucked up feeling to see a color you don't know how to name. Were they driven mad by the incomprehensible horror of gazing behind the veil of our limited understanding? Why didn't they take a screenshot of it so we can see for ourselves? You just won $20 million, and your parents ask you for half, what would you say? You are both dead, what do you need it for? No. Go away. But it would be from a place of love. $5 million would destroy my dad because he would use it to drink himself into even more of a stupor than he already is, and mom would run around talking about it to all her friends and end up scammed out of all of it and more. I have spent my whole life watching them both piss every dollar up against the wall. If I came into a big sum of money I would need to maintain control for their own good. Welcome back from the dead, I'm happy to give all of this to you if you stay. TIL. Robin Williams used to trash talk teenagers on Call of Duty, and described the series as cyber cocaine. If Robin Williams ever told me that he slept with my mom, I'm not sure if I'd take it as an insult or a compliment. Being trash talked by Robin Williams would be a fucking honor. 07. TIL. That while great apes can learn hundreds of sign language words, they never ask questions. My German Shepherd asks questions every time he cocks his head sideways. Just like most of my Bumble matches. This is the angriest I've ever seen an orangutan, and I never want to see one this mad again. Nouns and verbs are easy to demonstrate, but how do you demonstrate the word why? TIL. That US election day was chosen as a Tuesday in November in 1845 to making voting as easy as possible for the American 19th century farmer. After the fall harvest, before the winter snow, with enough time for travel to the polling place and back home without missing Sunday church. And still make market day. I found out that they had cake too. Where's my election cake? Thanks Tasting History for showing me what I've been missing. Farmers are why we have a long summer breaks for school kids, so they can help with farm chores. Should obviously be a federal holiday. TIL. Weeks before Marlon Brando's death, 3 newcomers gained control of his estate. They reclaimed assets promised to friends, sold his island, commercialized his image, and shut down fan-run pages. Under their care his eldest son had even couldn't afford the funeral. Sadly, this isn't all that uncommon among older celebrities and wealthy people in general. Richard Simmons comes to mind, but there are a ton of others whose lives were essentially taken over and bottled up by people who were complete strangers in the years before, usually including complete shut-off from their family and friends. This is why it's so important to set up power of attorneys, have living wills, and planning for your funeral. Happens to a lot of people unfortunately. I've heard cases where nursing home nurses and aides work their way into the lives of the elderly and take them far past the point of yeah, I had a primary relationship in this person's life, but all the way to over the course of 5 years I soaked this person for everything. Visit your people in the homes, folks. It's good to keep the elderly a part of your life, and it's good for them to have someone that isn't being paid to give a hoot being around. TIL. Of Joe Martin, a captive orangutan actor that starred in over 50 silent era films, and for years lived essentially as a free human, wearing clothes, having its own keys to come and go, attending film premieres and trusted to work with many children. Eventually it attacked many people. His own keys to come and go where? Just popping off to the pub. Love. Joe Martin's primary trainer told several reporters that Joe Martin could have been as young as 5 or 6 months old when he arrived 22. As with all primates, the mother-child dyad is foundational to infant survival, and young orangutans are heavily dependent on maternal care until at least age 8, thus obtaining infants requires mothers to be killed in nearly all instances. Sad face. 6-hour drive and you can only listen to one artist. Who are you listening to? Fleetwood Mac, no question. I've actually done this before during a coastal drive. There's nothing quite like belting out Dreams while watching the sunset over the ocean. Stevie Nicks is basically my road trip spirit guide at this point. Led Zeppelin I through physical graffiti, perfection. Gorillaz. Their style changes so much dependent upon the features, sometimes it's like a completely different artist. TIL. In 2022 an 18-year-old student, who did genealogical research as a hobby, cracked the unsolved 1964 murder of a 9-year-old girl in Hazleton, PA. He researched for 18 months and created 50 complete family trees to find a connection to Hazleton, which eventually led him to zero in on culprit James Forte. I wish the article would have explained more about the ancestry research process. It sounds fascinating. The little girl's name was Maris and Chivarella. I just always hate when headlines are written like this, leaving out the victim's name but including the assailant. Her name was Maris and she was walking to school with her arms loaded with cans for a classroom food drive. She was sexually assaulted before he strangled her and left her body in coal mining pit. Her name should be the one that's remembered now. TIL. Shoes discovered in Titanic wreckage are typically found in pairs because they were worn by victims when they died. The bodies disintegrated but the shoes remain due to tannic acid in leather. So the west coast of the US, particularly around Oregon and Washington, had lots of tennis shoes/sneakers washing up on the beaches with feet still in them. People were convinced some serial killer was chopping off feet or something, but it was actually more likely when people died of whatever caused the foam in the shoes buoyed the feet away from the body after death due to the thin ankle bones and flotation effect of the material. It's both morbid and fascinating. Shoe science. This is a little interesting, but I have to wonder if it is probably also true about all shoes everywhere in general. No bones. At that depth, calcium seems to leach very fast. Like and subscribe.